And now we will have another, our third keynote speaker. It is Tamara Srzentić. She is Minister of Public Administration of Montenegro. Tamara, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you, Vesna, and thank you to the entire WeBer 2.0 host team. I feel privileged and honored to have been invited to speak here today and to be a part of this community. And thank you to Haida and Miriam for your authentic, heartfelt, and very informative message, inspiring message. You brought up some of the core issues with the culture and machinery of government, which we all need to deal with at the systemic level. I also want to send a huge gratitude to our Sigma friends who have been our biggest allies and supporters, especially since I've got here several months ago. So let me just share my presentation very quickly. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Okay. So for today, I thought I'd share with you brief highlights and lessons learned about building delivery-driven and people-centered government back with my old team in California, and how we're taking some of those lessons and applying them here in Montenegro. Ja sam ponosna Cetinjanka I Crnogorka. This is me at the age of 6 with my mom and my sister Andrea after one of our kindergarten shows. I was born and raised in Montenegro at the city of Cetinje. At the age of 17, I left Montenegro as an exchange student in high school. And for the past 21 years, I've spent outside Montenegro. I've lived, studied, and worked in Asia, Europe, and United States. But my passion to make a difference, to build better government, comes from a personal story. Growing up, as likely many of you can identify, we have dealt with a lot of hardship and turmoil, which deepened inequities and left a lot of people without basic means to survive. So one summer when I was a high schooler, my little town in Montenegro was flooded by homeless Roma children and refugees. For them, everyday comforts that we take for granted, like safe place to sleep, consistent sources of food, and warm clothes were dire and inaccessible. So my sister and I organized a group of students. We worked together with the city to donate food and find shelter despite very limited resources. And by the end of that summer, hundreds of elementary school peers and community members joined, wanting to provide comfort and hope to those in need. So this drawing by a 10-year-old girl was given to my sister and me to say thank you. And to this day, this girl's drawing reminds me that when community comes together to solve problems, everything is possible. Community collaboration, empathy for others, and human-centered approaches to solving problems have been at the core of my work all my life. And so bringing community together to help identify and solve problems and co-design solutions is a big driver for me. And I believe something that many of you have been able to identify with as well. So I've been a community activist, member of numerous boards, and proud public servant in the United States for many years. And now I cannot feel more humbled to have the privilege to come back home and serve in my home country, Montenegro. Some of my early beginnings of falling in love with the mission of building a better government have been rooted in the experience of what one might call one of the biggest disasters and failures in USA government history. And so in 2013, some of you might remember seeing this in the news, Obama's administration passed the Affordable Care Act, commonly known as Obamacare, which was a huge deal. And this was the first time that USA had actually a fighting chance of passing a most aggressive healthcare reform in over 88 years. The launch of this was ruined by serious tech problems. $10 billion IT platform that was supposed to allow for people to sign up for their health insurance failed. And as a result, days and weeks were passing and people were not able to log in or sign up. So they dropped in a strike team of 6 people from Google, including my friend Mikey Dickerson on the right here, to try to rescue it. And they worked 20-hour days, 100 days straight, trying to fix the site. They started with user needs and worked outward from there. They were just following users throughout the website and fixed what they could, feature after feature, bug after bug, in a relentless way. And there was a gigantic governance problem as well. 50 vendors were working on the site, but no one was in charge. Besides fixing the site through this initiative, a new culture and approach to problem definition and problem solving has been introduced. And President Obama asked Mikey to start a brand new office that would improve delivery of digital services across federal government. They pulled in a bunch of other fantastic technologists from across the Silicon Valley, serving with the USDS on the 6 months to 1 year tours of duty. And they've been working on all notable federal digital services like immigration, veteran affairs. So I had a privilege to join and learn from Mikey and his team on this journey. And one thing that stuck with me from that period was a statement from one of the highest Obama's policy officials, who actually wasn't a technologist. She said that starting with users is not just how we should be doing tech, it's how we should be governing. And that woman was called Cecilia Munoz. At the time, she was running domestic policy for Obama's White House. And to have the lead policymaker say this, that meant a lot. I've taken a stock of learnings from the USDS team's experience to Sacramento, where me and my team have over time structured capacity for innovation and service design and built 2 startups, Office of Innovation and Office of Digital Services for the California state government. And here are some of the photos from my old team in action. Shots are from some of our trips and workshops. And here is the most common challenge which I have observed in governments all across the world, and I call it implementation gap. Policymaking all around the world has been in quite crisis. While there are meaningful differences of opinion in any government about which policies will result in the kind of society we want, it's often true that many of those policies simply do not live up to their intent or drive impact that they were supposed to drive. It's like a car where you're stealing a wheel that is loosely connected to the wheels. We might fight over who is in the driver's seat, but regardless of who is driving, you're not going to get where you're meant to go, and you're going to hurt people along the way. To address the implementation gap, we must also learn to drive policy and operations around delivery and users and complete the feedback circuit. Only then we can effectively achieve the goals government policies intended. And so here's an example of how we've done that in California state government. At our policy design user research lab, we've done qualitative and quantitative research to gather data on how people feel about COVID-19 measures and various policies that we rolled out this past year. So for example, before we'd published policies like restaurants or nail salon guidance, we'd spoken to the industry owners and researched the most challenging issues these people are facing to ensure that those needs are addressed in the policy framework. We've used daily insight to iterate on not just the informational architecture of our and the content design of our website, but the policy guidance frameworks themselves. So in Montenegro, COVID-19 is also our government's utmost priority. And shortly after we were elected, we formed a digital service team and structured capacity for policy research and service design. And in several weeks, we stood up COVID-odgovor.me. Our COVID-19 research team does panel interviews and social media listening to understand key questions, myths, and points of confusion people in Montenegro have around COVID-19. Before launching our vaccination coordination effort, we identified what public expects, cares, and worries about the most, and we are using that insight to shape a more effective vaccine coordination services and communication strategy. So this all would not be possible in such a short time if it wasn't for collaboration with our civic tech cluster, civil sector, and private industry partners who have been working tirelessly over the past 2 months, including weekends, until 2 a.m. many nights, to help us define problems and identify the biggest challenges people in Montenegro are facing, and then co-design solutions to address these needs. In the following weeks, we are propelling Innovation Fellows pipeline, where we'll be partnering proactively with academic, civil, and private sector in the region and globally, and bringing in mid-career experts and students who will do a tour of duty with the Montenegro government and help us solve some of the most pressing challenges. So leaving you all here with a pile to continue to make up, with a plea, sorry, to continue to make government work better. And with the question to you, are we just going to be a crowd of voices or a crowd of hands? The government cannot do it alone. You might be helping solve some of the most pressing problems from inside or from outside of the government. But if you're here, a part of this community, it's clear you're not doing it for the paycheck. You're doing it as a citizen. And I mean that in the broadest sense of the word, because you care for your country. No one is coming. It's up to us. Thank you, guys.